ready to become a tariff expert in like 5 minutes. Let's go. Alright, before we dive into the world of tariffs, let's talk about international trade. Imagine this. Countries are like a bunch of friends having a giant potluck. Everyone brings their specialty dish, right? Japan rolls in with a mountain of sushi, Colombia shows up with enough coffee to fuel a rocket launch, and the US brings, well, maybe not the best food, but hey, we've got tech and soybeans. The point is, not every country can make everything. Some countries are amazing at making cars, others grow enough bananas to supply a planet of monkeys, and some just have a knack for really comfy socks. That's where international trade comes in. Countries swap stuff they're good at making for things they need or just really want. It's like a giant global barter system but with less haggling and more shipping containers. Think about it, your phone probably has parts from like 10 different countries. Your clothes could be made with cotton from Egypt, sewn together in Bangladesh, and designed in Italy. International trade is how we get all the awesome stuff we love from all over the world. A tariff is basically just a fancy word for a tax on imports. It's like when your country decides to play bouncer at the border and says, hey, you want to bring that product in here? That'll be an extra $10, pal. Boom. Tariffed. Just like that, the price of that product goes up, and everyone involved in bringing it into the country feels the pinch. Imagine this. You're trying to import a truckload of those awesome super soft t-shirts everyone loves from another country. You're stoked, but then, bam! Your government slaps a tariff on those t-shirts because they want to protect their own t-shirt industry, even though their t-shirts are kinda scratchy. Now you gotta pay extra for each shirt you bring in. Ouch! And guess what? That extra cost gets passed down the line like a hot potato. Okay, so we know tariffs make things more expensive. But why do governments even bother with them? It's not like they're just trying to make our lives harder, right? Or are they? Well, there are actually a few reasons why countries use tariffs. Some are kinda smart, some are kinda shady, and some are just plain old messy. Reason number 1, protecting the homies. Sometimes governments use tariffs to give their own industries a fighting chance against foreign competition. It's like building a little economic fortress around your local businesses and saying, go ahead, try to compete with our awesome, locally sourced, slightly more expensive products. Reason number 2, money, money, money. Let's be real, governments love money just as much as the rest of us. Tariffs are like a giant money-making machine for governments. Every time someone imports a product that's been slapped with a tariff, boom! More money for the government to spend on, well, whatever they want. Reason number 3, power moves. Tariffs can also be used as a bargaining chip in international negotiations. It's like the economic equivalent of saying, don't make me come over there. Countries use tariffs to try and get what they want from other countries, whether it's better trade deals, access to resources, or just to prove a point. And finally, reason number 4, national security trademark. Alright, now for the part you've all been waiting for, how tariffs actually mess with your life. And trust me, it's not pretty. Remember those awesome super soft t-shirts we talked about earlier? Well, let's say the government decides to hit those bad boys with a hefty tariff. Suddenly, the importer has to pay way more to bring them into the country. They're not gonna just eat that cost, are they? Nope, they're gonna pass it on down the line. The businesses that buy those t-shirts from the importer, they gotta raise their prices too. And you know what that means? Yep, you guessed it. You, the awesome consumer, end up paying more for that same t-shirt just because your government decided to play tariff roulette. But it's not just t-shirts. Tariffs can affect the prices of everything. Cars, electronics, food, you name it. Now, if you thought tariffs on their own were bad, buckle up because it gets even crazier. Sometimes countries get into these heated disagreements over trade, and things can escalate quickly. We're talking full-blown trade wars, where countries start throwing tariffs at each other like it's a game of economic dodgeball. Remember a few years back when the United States and China had that massive trade war? Yeah, it was like watching a slow-motion train wreck but with spreadsheets and billions of dollars at stake. It all started with some tariffs here and there, but then things spiraled out of control. One country would slap tariffs on certain goods, the other country would retaliate with even more tariffs, and before you knew it, everyone was getting hit with higher prices and economic uncertainty. Businesses were freaking out because they didn't know what to expect next. Consumers were left scratching their heads, wondering why everything suddenly cost more. And the global economy? Well, let's just say it wasn't pretty. Trade wars are like the ultimate example of how tariffs can backfire. Okay, so we've talked about what tariffs are, why they exist, and how they can wreak havoc on the global economy, but are they all bad? Well, like most things in life, tariffs are complicated. They have their pros and cons, and whether they're ultimately good or bad depends on a whole bunch of factors. Let's start with the good news, shall we? One of the main arguments in favor of tariffs is that they can help protect domestic industries and jobs. By making imported goods more expensive, tariffs can make locally produced goods more appealing to consumers, which can boost local businesses and create jobs. Another potential benefit of tariffs is that they can generate revenue for governments. That extra money can then be used to fund important public services, like education, healthcare, or even just fixing those pesky potholes in the road. And in some cases, tariffs can be used to address unfair trade practices by other countries. For example, if a country is found to be dumping cheap subsidized goods in another country's market, a tariff might be used to level the playing field. But before you go out and start campaigning for higher tariffs, let's talk about the downsides. One of the biggest drawbacks of tariffs is that they can lead to higher prices for consumers. So, after all that, you're probably wondering, are tariffs good or bad? And the honest answer is, it's complicated. There's no easy answer when it comes to tariffs. They're a complex economic tool that can have both positive and negative consequences, depending on how they're used. Think of it like this. Tariffs are like a powerful spice. Used sparingly and strategically, they can add a little flavor and depth to the global economy. But if you go overboard and start dumping tariffs on everything, it's going to ruin the whole dish. Ultimately, whether or not a tariff is good or bad depends on a whole bunch of factors, including the specific goods being taxed, the reasons for implementing the tariff, and the potential impact on consumers, businesses, and the overall economy. The key takeaway here is that tariffs are a powerful tool that should be used with caution. When used responsibly, they can be a useful way to protect domestic industries, generate revenue, and address unfair trade practices. So next time you're wondering why your new sneakers cost more than your rent, just remember, somewhere out there a tariff might be quietly adding $5 to your bill. But hey, at least now you know what tariffs are, why they exist, and how they can affect your wallet. Knowledge is power, my friends, and now that you're armed with the knowledge of tariffs, you can impress your friends, family, and even that barista who always spells your name wrong with your newfound economic wisdom. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more awesome videos, and let me know in the comments what you thought about tariffs.